Hello, this is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com. Today, this is going to be a kind of difficult, I don't know, weird video, I guess. Well, maybe not. So anyway, I'll put my glove on. So what we have here is, we have first of all, it's a C280 99 is the vehicle. Okay, so this is a 99 C280. The objective for today is, given that it's a nice day today, I decided to do front springs and control arm, lower control arm bushings. A couple of other things I'll do later, but for now, for the day, this is what I need to do. A reason is that the front springs on these cars, they do break. Same as S-Class and probably E-Classes, but you know, I come from big engines, big cars, S-Classes for the most part, SLs. So C-Class 202 chassis, I had one of those before. It was a really nice car, so happened to have another one. So here's the thing. This is the spring. Here's the last, basically the last segment of the spring, the last coil, and it breaks off on the bottom. So this is original C280 spring. So now basically the car was riding on something like this. Let me just try to make another shot with sun. Basically the spring was broken. The car ran without basically last coil. So it was basically like cutting a coil on a spring. And at the same time it was rubbing right in this area against coils. It was making a very screechy noise. It was very terrible every time you go forward and backwards, because the spring would just touch here and it was like making this kind of nasty noise. And I thought to myself, all right, fine, so what can I get? Real quick, I found me a set of C36 AMG spring, and as you can see, the springs are different lengths because C36 obviously is lower. But logic tells me that if my spring was broken and the ride height on the car was okay, what I will do is I will install the C36 spring and see how the ride height will be. Most likely it will be okay, to be honest with you, because the car was already lowered by a broken spring. Yes, I understand that the rates and the load ratings and everything is a little different, but I doubt it's going to be that much of a difference. This is not going to be a race car, it's just going to be a driver. So that's a C36. This is the C280 spring. Also, C36 has different insert. It has 2 notches. I'm going to leave 3 notches, which is, I believe it's taller. If I remember correctly, more notches, the taller and higher the actual insert, to bring the ride height up a little bit. And also 3.6 engine, inline 6 versus M112 weight ratio. I did not check that, so, but I think it will be fine. I think it will be fine in terms of the weight. So overall, this is going to be a decent combination. Worst comes to worst, I know where to get 2 rear springs from C36 also. So I can just, if I don't like the ride height, I will go ahead and get 2 rear springs swapped out on this car for C36, just to even out the height. But most likely it will be just fine, because like I said, originally the car was already lowered because one coil was broken, so the length of the springs would be pretty much equal, and the ride height was perfect. I mean, I had no problems with the ride height. Now, because I'm doing the spring, I decided to do the lower control arm. So as you can see, it is removed because I'm going to be doing lower control arm bushings. Other than that, ball joint looks fine. No problems with ball joint here. Didn't make any noises, and it's very stiff, so I assume that it was replaced at some point because rubber boot is good and everything. In terms of the steering linkage itself, that I didn't check yet, but again, that has nothing to do with the job I'm doing. A shock absorber seems to be okay, so I'll leave that be as well. The shock absorber, it's just super easy. One bolt on top and 1 bolt on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Believe it or not, I mean, it's been a long time that I've been working on these cars, because it is way easier than S-Class, SLs, V12s and all that, because, you know, coming from something like that to something like this, it's like a day and night. I was very surprised how how more simpler the suspension is, you know, the hydraulics and, you know, sensors and all that stuff on those cars, and this is basically back to the basics, which is great. I love it. This is a very practical car. I mean, whoever wants to have a first car or like a station car or something to commute, I would always recommend one of these, the older ones. I would say 97 with inline 6 would be nice, or this is a 99. This is also a really nice one. Very nice car. V6 2.8, quick enough, good on gas. I mean, everything goes for it. The biggest negative is obviously the rust. All of these cars will have some rust, so yeah, I mean, unless it's Texas or something. But these are cheap nowadays. They run and run and run. 5-speed electronic transmission, 2.6. This is an 112 engine, which is great. And if you get the one that is 97, I had 97 inline 6 with 722.6 transmission. That was a really nice car. Never broke down, ever. So we got the situation with the spring. I used the spring compressor, of course, and well, all that. Now the control arm situation. The control arm bushings, they're basically completely perished. There's basically nothing left from rubber that holds the inner section to outer section here. The inner section is basically, I mean, I can move it with my hands, and obviously that is something to deal with, because the other side, when I turn the wheels, it's basically moving. It's just basically these things would be moving, and that is a no-go. Overall control arm is in good shape. A little rust here and there, but again, we're not talking about showroom car, we're talking about a good runner, so that's what I will be doing. I'm just getting this to it's a good runner. Frontal bushing seems to be kind of intact, so I don't know, but I'm changing this anyway. Here's another shot of the rear bushing. As you can see, rubbers are gone. It's just really separated from both inner and outer segment, split, so no go. And not to go crazy, not to just, you know, not to break myself, I'm just getting these. I got the polyurethanes, because polyurethane, you can put it anywhere you want, all right? Just, you don't have to kind of like, whatever you put it in, it's there. Versus those, you have to orient them properly. The originals, you got 2 notches on top and up and down. With this bushing right here, because it has to be set properly. So, as you can see, it has to go facing like this, okay? But I decided, you know what, I've put in polyurethanes to my customers. I really like them, so no problems there. Like that car right there, that S-Class right there, that has polyurethanes in it, and installed 6 or 7 years ago. No problems, never had an issue. And the 140 chassis, the poly, you know, those cars right there, those have the hydraulically filled bushings, so they're even more difficult because you have to use a proper press. If you're not gonna use proper press, you're going to break original bushing. Installing it, removing is one thing, you know, to butcher is not to create, to break is not to create. So remove is okay, but the installation of those 140 chassis, that's difficult, much different than these. These you can press in and out. So this is what I'm gonna get onto. I probably will cut the inner section out, just basically the same way I do on 140s, and heat it all up. Well, this one I'm gonna heat up. I'm gonna use the chisel right there, the chisel laying on the floor. Chisel I use just to mark the bolts themselves, because on 140 those are alignment bolts. On these, the bolts are already preset, so they don't really move. So once you remove it, once you install it back the same way, as you can see, this is the front bolt. This one does not have alignment properties to it, but I'm sure you can get alignment bolts. I mean, I never really, like I said, these are not really my cars, but I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have to mark it exactly how I would mark 140 or 129 bolts. And these are already have notches, so they can only go in one way. You cannot shift them. That's just great. Like I said, I mean, these cars, they're more like user-friendly, cheaper to work on. That's the way to go. All right, so this is it. Changing the bushings, changing the springs, and later on I'll deal with suspension. Also, it's another sign that you can tell that something's up with suspension. You can see the wear on the outer wheel is way more severe than the inner side of the wheel, the tire rather. And obviously that tells you that the alignment was off. But well, of course alignment will be off because the rear bushing here is not tracking, it's always extended. Once I put these polyurethane, the suspension geometry will get back to normal, to be straight. The wheels will not be basically backwards. If the car is facing this way, so when you drive, obviously the force will make wheels go out, and for some reason it was wearing out outer portion of the tire. I don't know why. I would assume it would have wear out inner portion of the tire. Maybe they were, I don't know, rotated. Maybe they swapped them somehow. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have much history about this car, but from the condition, it's pretty nice. So I just finished with the engine, so we're dealing with that. And one more other thing I'm going to do later is I'm going to do this. Yes, I'm using the budget parts on this because it's not as critical. I'll be doing this. This is your transmission lock. They call it transmission lock interlock. I don't know why, whatever it is, that's what it's called. I did it on my truck a long time ago on an Alpha 30, and it was leaking. Same thing's happening here. It's leaking in the back of the transmission. I do want to change it because if you're low on oil, the light will come on. If you're low on transmission oil, nothing will come on. Transmission might get into limp mode and whatnot, so we don't want that to happen when the fluid leaks out. So that's why I want to change it so transmission is leak free, and that's basically going to be all. The car will be basically ready. And yeah, so this is basically now it. This is it for now. I'm gonna do the other side. I'm not gonna make any videos about the other side. I'm thinking of tightening up the steering box itself, which I'm debating on doing. I probably will because there is a tiny bit of a slack there. So I think I'm gonna turn maybe a quarter turn, yeah, about quarter turn to tighten it up a little bit. And then I'm thinking later on I'm going to replace this whole steering link because it's a solid piece. So I'll do that. Suspension basically will be ready. Like I said, we're not talking about hydraulics or pneumatics and this and that. This is way more primitive and it is great. Now that upper control arm rubber seemed to be okay. The car has 137,000 miles to it, and looking at the video now, it seems to be fine and intact. And this bushing seems to be fine. It's not bushing. The ball joint that's part of the upper control arm is not ripped or anything, and it seems fine. I tried to move the whole knuckle here, suspension in and out when it's all, you know, loose, and I don't see any kind of play in it. So we'll leave that be. The actual sway bar bushings, well, they have a little bit of play to them, but these are super simple to change, so I'm probably gonna leave them for now. It's alright. Actually, I do have a set. I'll go check it out. I might have a set laying around. I'll see. But again, this is super easy to do. I just literally, this is C-Class, man. This is 202. This is what you get. This is nice. Alright, so this is all for me for now. I'll go back to work. Just wanted to make this addition. And at the end, I'm gonna make final video of things done to this vehicle so I remember what was done. And for a new owner, I have a buyer for this car. So for the new owner will know what was done to the vehicle, so nobody can just tell him otherwise and try to sell a job that's already done. Alright, this is it. This is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com. Thank you for watching.